And it's kind of, it may be in a way, sort of a test. The disciples have seen Jesus 3 times now, resurrected, and they go back to fishing. They just, after all the teaching that Jesus has done, after all the times he has said to them, follow my way, they go back to fishing. They go back to what they did before Jesus came. They go back to fishing. Seems logical. Here they've been following this man for so long, and now all of a sudden he's gone. They're horrified at the way he died. They're sad. They're distraught. So they go back to what they did before, and they went fishing. And they go fishing, and they can't catch anything. Nothing is in the sea below them. There is nothing. So their job is kind of meaningless. They've kind of lost their fulfillment. There are no fish. There's no Jesus anymore. And then all of a sudden, Jesus reappears again, and at first they don't recognize him, but then he starts performing these miracles because they tell him once he gets there, he says, okay, now put your nets in again. And they put in their nets, and all of a sudden there's 153 fish, and they haul it out. It's so heavy that you would think that the nets would break, but the nets don't break, and they haul it out there, and they've got all this fish, and then all of a sudden there's bread, and they're eating, and they're just feeling good and feeling fulfilled because Jesus is there again. And then he says, do you love me? Well, of course we love you. You just fed us. How could we not love you? And then he says again, do you love me? And he says this 3 times to Peter. Now remember, Peter was the one who betrayed him. So he asked Peter this question 3 times, do you love me? And he says, yes, of course I love you. And they all say, of course we love you. And then what does Jesus say? He says, tend my sheep. He tells fishermen to go tend sheep. Isn't that kind of a strange thing to tell fishermen to go tend sheep? But this is what Jesus has been telling the disciples all along. Go take care of people. Go out there. Open your arms. He says at the end, when you were younger, you fastened your own belt and you kept yourself like this. But you've been with me now for 3 years. Haven't you learned that I want you to go out there and let other people, let me guide you? Follow my way? My way isn't to go back to what you were doing before and to this kind of meaningless existence. The way is to go out and tend my sheep, to take care of those who are brokenhearted and hungry and morose and sad. Now we all know that, and we all come to church, and you all listen to me say this every Sunday, and I hear myself say it every Sunday. And we sit here and we think, yes, this is what Jesus wants from us. And then we go back into our regular lives, which are filled with worries and anxieties and fears. And we kind of get caught in that boat again, fishing in an ocean where there's no fish. And we forget that we're supposed to go out and tend the sheep. Now, when we tend the sheep, we can sometimes forget, or our own worries become less important. They're not quite as overwhelming when we go out and we do something for somebody else, or give somebody else a hand, or even a smile can make a big difference. Now, I think I've told this story here before, but this was such a powerful experience for me one time as I was in Green Star Market in Ithaca and feeling kind of grumpy. I don't actually remember why I felt grumpy, which in and of itself is telling, because I don't remember what I was feeling so grumpy about. But I was feeling grumpy, and I was getting some food. It was a cold day, and there was this gentleman in there who looked like Stoney Lonesome in the movie Fried Green Tomatoes, which is one of my favorite movies. But he was just real thin, kind of stooped over, and wearing raggedy clothes, real sharp angled face. And he looked lost, but he also looked very cold. So I offered to buy him a cup of coffee. And then I thought, gosh, maybe he's still kind of hungry. So I offered to get him a bagel and turkey sandwich. And he turned to me, and this still gives me little shivers when I tell the story, but he turned to me and he said, God bless you. And it wasn't in a way, it wasn't in a perfunctory way. It was, it really had meaning. And everything that I was feeling grumpy about just went away. And it just felt good that I had given him some small comfort. I'm sure he goes back out into the world and faces his demons again, but for that 1 second, he and I were connected in some really powerful way that made me feel better and also made him feel better. And when we do those small acts of kindness, somehow those things that are bothering us so much about our own day-to-day existence seem just a little less important. Now, I think probably many of you have seen, I have this sticker on the back of my car that says, "Pay it forward." And I don't know if any of you ever saw the movie Pay It Forward. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, you should go see it. But this little thing that says "Pay it forward," and I often get stopped by people talking about that, because it's a reminder that when somebody does something for you or something, you should go out and return that and pay it forward to somebody else. And if we could all learn how to do that just a little bit, we would make our world and our lives a little better. Now, what's going on in the big picture of things can be a little scary and a little overwhelming. But we have the power to tend those little lambs and tend those little sheep right here in our own families, in our own community, in our own church. And there's where we can make the impact. Just right here. Sometimes looking at those big pictures is just scary. But sometimes doing those little acts of kindness, those random acts of kindness, and paying it forward